50 colleges reported annual revenues that exceed $50 million. Meanwhile, 5 colleges report annual revenues that exceed $100 million. The NCAA recently sold broadcast rights to its annual men's basketball tournament for an upward of $707 million per season. And the Big Ten Conference has launched its own TV network that sells airtime to sponsors during its broadcasts of its football and men's basketball games. But where does that money go? These college sports revenues are passed down to NCAA executives, athletic directors, and coaches in forms of salaries. Now, the argument is, shouldn't the college athletes receive some of this money? No, they shouldn't. Some say that student athletes bring billions to universities and colleges, but receive nothing for themselves. Well, that just isn't true. Student athletes receive scholarships including free tuition, books, housing, food, clothing, tutoring, transportation, and they even benefit from coaching, training, game experience, and media exposure. Another reason student athletes should not be paid is because college athletes are governed by the NCAA. Any solution would have to be applied to all students, which isn't exactly fair since not all athletes are worth the same. For example, say you have a U of M quarterback and a U of M fencing player. They would both have to be paid the same amount of money, except that's not fair seeing as though they don't bring in the same amount of money for a university. People pay more money to see big names, and the football games are televised, which generates more money for the school and increases the attendance and profile for the school. On the other hand, women's fencing at U of M doesn't create the same amount of revenue. So why should one college athlete be treated better than the other? It just isn't fair. College athletes also already have the benefit of having teachers make allowances and special rules for them, such as extending due dates, how long they have for an assignment, absences, tardiness, they grade easier, and scheduling benefits. In many situations, being a student athlete is a choice. As for someone who used to be a student athlete, I made the choice to quit playing soccer so that I could focus on completing a nursing degree. The real reason majority of student athletes are in college is to get an education and not go to the pros. So say college athletes were to get paid, then the question is, where does that money come from? Out of 332 schools currently competing in the NCAA's Division I, fewer than a dozen have athletic departments that are profitable. And that of the 120 programs that are comprised of the football bowl subdivision, just 14 are profitable. That means that some 88% of the top football programs lose money for their university. And that doesn't even include the reams of cash that schools are spending on the so-called non-revenue sports. Now, one might argue that being a student athlete is a full-time job and that they cannot work during the season to make money. But what about all the other students who aren't athletes? They are just as broke. Every student is effectively broke. Although non-athletes have time to work a job, they also have student loans and they don't benefit from free tuition through scholarship. On an average, a full D1 scholarship is $2,500 per year, equaling to $100,000 all 4 years. 71% of graduates last year had a student loan debt with an average of $29,400 per year. From 2008 to 2012, debt at graduation increased an average of 6% each year. So why should student athletes receive money when they are already benefiting more than others?